So get a load of this piece of crap. Oz Perlman. A loaded name if ever there were one. And he, of course, is a pigeon, a jay, a worthless heap of dung. And wouldn't you know, he was born on July 19th, 1982. That is Trump's reverse birth date. And why am I talking about this clown? Because there was a shooting at the White House Correspondents Association dinner tonight, at the same place where Ronald Reagan was almost assassinated, I might add. And this loser, a mentalist, was performing when the supposed shots rang out. Now listen to this nonsense, and he's talking about Trump here.
Seriously impossible to read. Am I right? I've read the Art of the Deal twice. I think I finally figured out how the president thinks.
The Art of the Deal twice. Why did he say that? You know how they like to speak in code. So since he said the Art of the Deal twice, I typed in the Art of the Deal 2 times in the gematria calculator, and wouldn't you know, it equals 1776. You know the big deal about this year being the 250th anniversary of the United States. And April 25th just so happens to leave 250 days remaining in the year. No coincidence. It's also the 15th day of the year, which would make it 116 on leap years. You're backwards 611. Remember the ear clip Trump got on our last leap year. Now keep listening to this crap here.
That the moment with the president will be a career-defining moment for me if I'm able to pull off what I want. Which means that in 20 years, God help me out, 50 years from now, when you read my obituary...
20 years, or 50 years, or in other words, a 250 yet again. Not to mention a career-defining moment for this pigeon. But yeah, very blatant coding for the 250th year anniversary. And that's not all that we have here. 296 in ordinal. That's the 233rd composite. And of course 233 is the 51st prime number. 5-1, May Day, the day of pagan sacrifice. 134 in reduction. The 101st composite. We know how 101 points to the year 2026, as it is the 26th prime number. 3084 is the 2642nd composite, or your 2642 combo. And of course, we all know about the 126, don't we? Kobe Bryant death date, but also the 126 composite is 165. Trump born on the 165th day of the year. And hey, just the Art of the Deal once gives us our 888 beast system number in the same cipher that we got 1776 in. Also, the 148th day of the year is my birthday, May 28th. Also, fictional character Donnie Darko's birthday, which connects to Trump. Our 67, our 77, 823, again, that connects to Kobe Bryant because he was born on that date. In Escape from LA, it's also the date of the huge earthquake. 63. It's the 44th composite, and the 63rd triangular is 2016 or 21684. And by the way, 77, besides all the obvious connections, is the 55th composite, 55 the Satan number, and 257 here is the 55th prime. And the pathetic putrid pigeon's name equals 121. The 121st day of the year is May Day, again the day of pagan sacrifice. 49 is the 33rd composite. JFK was born on the 149th day of the year. You know, this was a phony shooting event. You know what happened to JFK, of course. And 499. The composite of 499 is 611. And again, this clown was born on Trump's reverse birth date. He has the Oz, like the Emerald City, Seattle. He has the Pearl in his name, like Pearl Harbor. He has the man. And the idiot goes by Oz, the mentalist. And look there, 11/22, JFK's assassination date. Right there in your face. Also, 187 is the 144th composite. If you watch my channel, you know how big that number is, 144. The 18th prime. Basically our 9/11 numbers. There's our 7-4 connection yet again. And again, the attempted Reagan assassination was at the same exact place. And you know this has an 8-4 connection. In fact, from that shooting to this so-called one, 16,462 days. And 164 plus 62 equals 226, or 2026. You can also do 6 plus 1 is 7, 4 plus 6 plus 2 is 12, 712. Our Pearl Harbor numbers, you know who died on 7/12 back in 2020. 45 years, 26 days. Of course, Trump is the 45-47 president, and all this takes place in the year 26. You can also look at this as April 5th, add 26 days, and land on 5/1, May Day again. Now, in the Reagan assassination attempt, James Brady, the White House press secretary, was the one who was actually hit in the head, though he didn't die. He did eventually die on, go figure, 8/4/2014, like I said, the 8-4 connection. And if we go from his death to this so-called shooting in the same place, 42-82 days. 42, you know how huge that number is, obviously. And 82 is what Seattle equals in gematria. In fact, 42 plus 82 equals 124, and again, I've shown this many times. The 124th composite number is 162, or 611. But wait, there's more. 140 months, 21 days. Also 611 weeks, 5 days. Which means include the end date, and 140 plus 22 is 162. Again, 611. We already had our 611 over here, but in this case it's 611 both forwards and backwards when you include the end date. In fact, you can even have another 611 here because 4 plus 2 is 6, 8 plus 3 is 11, 611. And it happened 47 days before 611. Trump, the 45-47 president. 1 month, 17 days. 1 month and 17 days into the year is 217. Big number. Also the start of the fire horse year. And 117 is 317 on the Roman calendar. Our big 137 number. Now here's the shooter. Cole Thomas Allen. Teacher of the year. Or no, teacher of the month, it says. And look in the background here. You got a pyramid on the wall. There's the teacher of the month. Those pyramids are always important. Pyramids, triangles, all of it. And it says here he designed and built the C++ based video game Boredom. Cole Thomas Allen, spelled without the H in the Thomas. Now first, I want you to remember who died on the last date that Trump was shot at, supposedly. July 13th, 2024. Of course, I'm not counting the golf course incident. And you know, I literally just pulled this up, and how crazy is it that there's a YouTube thing right here with this Dr. Oz. And I was just talking about this Oz Perlman mentalist who was present at the shooting. That's some pretty crazy odds there, yeah? And that dude was born on 6/11, I do believe. So yeah, I pulled this up, not expecting to see this. Huge synchronicity. Shannon on, I guess, the Dr. Oz show, her cancer story. And this was 10/26/25 that this was posted. So this was posted well after her death for some unknown reason. And it says it is 18 minutes, 18 seconds long. Your twin 18s, you know who was born on 1/8. She is from Memphis. So yes, a very unexpected synchronicity right here. Now, getting back to the reason I brought her up, she of course was on Charmed, and Julian McMahon was also on Charmed. In fact, they dated in real life, and he played Cole Turner. And of course, Cole is in the shooter's name. Now, Shannon's death in Trump's ear clip was 11 months and 19 days before Julian McMahon died on 7/2 last year. Your 9/11/01 numbers, of course. In Trump's ear clip, Shannon's death was 651 days before this so-called shooting. A backwards 156. You know how that number connects to 9/11 twice. You know how Satanists love to do things backwards. 21 months, 12 days. 21 plus 12 is your 33. Exactly 93 weeks, a huge number. Why do you think it was United 93 on 9/11? And the 93rd composite is 124. Again, the 124th composite is 162,611. And while it's not spelled the same, there's also Thomas Doherty and his connections. He was in Paradise Graceland. Go watch my video on that for all the connections with him to Shannon. So really, they're referencing Shannon again on this so-called assassination attempt of Trump. Now, don't forget about Nancy Guthrie, who went missing on January 31st or February 1st, whenever. Well, Thomas, spelled the way it is, reminds me of Tommaso, and Tommaso Cioni is the husband of Annie Guthrie, who is the older sister of Savannah Guthrie, and he was actually talked about as a suspect in the case, although that was dropped. And I thought that was very strange at the time, because this wrestler, Tommaso Ciampa, who was born on May 8th, which is a huge date. Erica Francevay married to Charlie Kirk on that date. The Stand premiere date. Deep Impact release date. The new Pope was chosen on that date. But why was I reminded of him? Because Ciampa left WWE and debuted in AEW. I want you to look here and see when he made his ring debut. Ciampa made his in-ring debut and defeated Mark Briscoe for the TNT title on January 31st. They just said Nancy Guthrie disappeared on either January 31st or February 1st. Basically the same thing. And this guy made his in-ring debut and won the championship on January 31st. His name is Tommaso. A very rare name. So yes, I found that very strange timing. Now this is where it gets even stranger. Darby Allin is a wrestler in AEW who was born January 7th, 1993. That, of course, is one day before Elvis's birthday, and he just turned 33 years old this year. Well, Darby Allin just won the AEW World Heavyweight Championship for the first time on April 15th. And he defended it, his first defense since winning the title, against Tommaso Ciampa on April 22nd, this past week. And again, the shooter's name is Cole Thomas Allen. No, Allen is not spelled the same way, but still. And Darby is from Seattle, Washington. In fact, he won the title in Everett, Washington, and that is after he summited Mount Everest last year. Sort of strange that he summited Everest and then won the title in Everett. Now, if we go from when Tommaso Ciampa won the championship to the shooting, it's exactly 84 days. Our 8-4. It's also a total of 2 months and 25 days, and 2/25 would be 4/25 on the Roman calendar, the date of the shooting. And remember, Darby Allin won the title on 4/15, exactly 10 days before the shooting. And he defended the title against Ciampa 3 days before the shooting. And by the way, if you include the end date, from the date that Darby summited Everest to his winning the title in Everett, Washington, it's a total of 333 days. Or half of 666. Now, more on that later because I have a big decode video surrounding some very bizarre wrestling codes, and I'm going to include this in that. But don't you think it's strange that the guy's name is Cole Thomas Allen? All these date distances line up. Darby Allin, Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa won the title on the date that Nancy Guthrie supposedly disappeared, and Tommaso Cioni related to Nancy Guthrie through marriage. He was a suspect briefly. I mean, come on now. Now get a load of this, because this clown, Wolf Blitzer, who works for CNN, was at the dinner and was a witness to the shooting. I've seen this guy on TV before years ago, and I never ever could stand him. And look at his birth date, 3/22/48, our 322 Skull and Bones. His wife is named Lynn Greenfield. Green, our Seattle reference. And man, I was looking at all these updates from CNN. So many Donald Trump quotes and quotes from other people on here. Update after update. Right on the scene. Now, you know I know all about CNN because of Ted Turner. I know all about Ted Turner, the guy who funded WCW, which had the New World Order. Hulk Hogan, of course, signed with WCW on 6/11/1994. In fact, that episode is in its entirety on YouTube for anyone who wants to watch it. He signed his contract on the episode. And then he re-signed with the company on JFK's birthday in the year 1998, your 666 year. So CNN was founded on June 1st, 1980 in Atlanta. Can you believe how close this is? If we go from CNN's founding date and go 45 years, 47 weeks into the future, it lands on April 26th, 2026. 1 day off from the shooting. Now, if you were to include the end date, that would count as still being on 4/25. So, this counts regardless. And Trump, of course, is the 45-47 president. Ted Turner, New World Order. And I was playing around with a lot of those quotes from Trump from CNN in the Gematria calculator, just seeing what all kinds of crazy numbers they came up with. And there's some interesting things with this quote here, especially down there in Chaldean, that's 744. And Chaldean is one of the most important ciphers. Don't let anyone tell you different. Just because it's towards the bottom of this page means nothing. It should be much higher up. And 744 is the 611th composite, our 611. We've also got that 901 reduction. Of course, Elvis currently 91 years old. 2332 in ordinal, a mirror. And this is just one of many quotes from Trump. Of course, he talks a lot. And remember how I started off this video with Oz Perlman, the mentalist pigeon. Well, don't forget this TV show, The Mentalist, which premiered in 2008. And it had its final episode on February 18th, 2015. And by the way, that is a very heavily coded show. It connects to Charlie Kirk with a character named Kirkland, among other things. The main serial killer antagonist of the show is named Red John, and Red John's real identity winds up being Sheriff Thomas McAllister, or Twin McAllister. Remember, Catherine O'Hara died earlier this year. She played McAllister in Home Alone. But yeah, a very coded show, and Red John was played by Xander Berkeley from Terminator 2, among other things. He was in the show 24. He sacrificed himself to fly a nuke out of LA. Check out my Marshawn Neeland decode for more info on him and the correlations to Marshawn Neeland's death to the TV show 24. Remember, Marshawn Neeland was 24. Now, if we go from Oz, the Mentalist's birthday on Trump's reverse birthday in 82 to the Mentalist's final episode, 11,902 days. Our 9/11 with our 9/2. Of course, Keanu Reeves was born on 9/2, and the 92nd day of the year is 4/2, which is 162 days before 9/11. Keanu Reeves' girlfriend, Jennifer Syme, died on 4/2/2001. And if you want to see something even crazier, consider this March 2nd. Add 6, and then 30, land on 4/7. But that's not even the biggest deal, because you can also consider this March 26th, and then add 30 days to that, and you would land on 4/25, the date of the shooting. Now, how crazy is that? The shooting where Oz, the pigeon mentalist, was showing a card right as shots supposedly rang out. This gives us our date perfectly, 4/25. And 390 plus 30 is 420. You know all about who was born on that date. You know that Columbine happened on that date with one of the supposed culprits born on 9/11. Drop the 0, it's also your 42. And Simon Baker played the Mentalist, born July 30th, 1969. From Baker's birthday to this Oz clown's 4,737 days, you're 4737. And 47 plus 37 just so happens to equal 84. 12 years, 11 months, 19 days. 12 plus 11 plus 19 is 42. Check out this stupid video here. Man, what a bunch of clowns, huh? Now, I personally could not really make out the writing on the piece of paper, but people in the live chat a while ago were telling me that it said Viviani, and that equals 102. Again, that's what brought me back to Shannon Doherty, because she was born on the 102nd day of the year. Like I said, they're 100% referencing her, and it also equals our 42. 39, Michelle Trachtenberg died at the age of 39, 7 months and 13 days after Shannon died. They both worked for the WB network. In fact, Shannon's final episode of Charmed was just 5 days before the Tower Sacrifice episode with Trachtenberg. Also 6/12 in Sumerian, that's George Bush Sr.'s birthday, you're backwards 216, and 5/22, like I said, Memphis' founding date, the Tower Sacrifice, the gift, air date. And as I mentioned in Garo's chat, Viviani means alive, lively, or life force. Perlman said, "We laid on the ground. I was a couple feet away from President Trump, eyes locked with one another. It was likely the scariest moment of my life and will never forget it. So happy everyone is okay." His eyes were locked with Trump probably because he's a butt slammer and he wanted a piece of Trump. Typical pigeon behavior. He certainly looks like one of those butt slammer types. I mean, I can just picture that image in my head. Their eyes locked together as they're laying on the ground. I mean... Hey, Trump. My birthday is the reverse of yours. Doesn't that make us soulmates? That's probably he's probably thinking, running through his head. What little brain he has up there. Laura Loomer says, "Someone I know who attended the event said there was no security in the lobby, only checkpoints at the escalators to the ballroom. It's not worth it. Leave and go home. It's not worth letting someone kill Trump in front of the media." Again, all part of a false narrative. Loomer, by the way, was born on May 21st, 1993. There's that 1993 year that keeps liking to pop up. Remember the World Trade Center bombing that year? A really big year in general. Charlie Kirk born that year. And May 21st, of course, is the 141st day of the year. 141 equals June 11th. Seattle Slew, World War III, among other things. And Pearl Harbor premiered on May 21st, 2001, right in between Shannon's last appearance on Charmed and Michelle Trachtenberg's The Gift Tower Sacrifice episode. Remember, Pearl Harbor is what got the U.S. involved in World War II. So, interesting that it would be released on the 141st day of the year, and 141 equals World War III. It was released 3 months, 22 days before 9/11. And I can't forget to mention that Carolyn Levitt was just talking earlier in the day before the event about there being a shooting that night. Again, a total farce. It was no real shooting.
Was he not?
He is ready to rumble. I will tell you, this speech tonight will be classic Donald J. Trump. It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room. So everyone...
And by the way, Correspondence Dinner, 249 in Ordinal, which is the 195th composite. Trump's ear clip, Shannon Doherty's death on the 195th day of a leap year. The 291st prime is 1901, our 9/11 numbers. We have our 111 here. Seattle Space Needle open on the 111th day of the year. 9/11 leaves 111 days remaining in the year. And right here we have our 1095, which is the 9/11th composite. Remember, Elvis just turned 1095 months old on 4/8.
This dinner, I agree that this dinner will probably go down in history. We're still talking about the White House force.
So this is the same video that Perlman was being interviewed in earlier. It's titled "Hostile Audience. This dinner will go down in history." How in your face, yeah? Hostile Audience, 150. What'd I show you about this earlier? composite is 195. Trump's ear clip date, Shannon's death date, the 195th day of a leap year. 255. The 200th day of the year is 7/19, Trump's reverse birth date, and Oz, the moron mentalist's birthday. The composite of 255 is 322, Skull and Bones, that Wolf Blitzer idiot's birthday. And we have our 84 there in reverse reduction and our 58 in Chaldean. Hostile audience indeed. And by the way, the address 1919 Connecticut Avenue equals 215. Of course, 215 is Seattle Slew's birth date. Also equals 284, Michelle Trachtenberg, born on the 284th day of the year, which is 9 months and 11 days into the year, and is the 222nd composite, our order out of chaos, as above, so below number. And by the way, don't forget that the Reagan assassination attempt was inspired by the movie Taxi Driver, written by Paul Schrader, who was born on 7/22, 6/11's reverse date, and his wife just died on 3/28. 3 times 28 is 84, and 3/28 was 28 days before this shooting at the same place. And remember how I mentioned the whole Guthrie thing? He did it to impress her from Silence of the Lambs, and you know how that connects to that case if you go back and watch my Tom Noonan video. Remember that Tom Noonan was in Manhunter. And she was born on November 19th, 1962, the year the Space Needle opened. So the year the Space Needle opened with your 91101 number, and she went to Yale University, Skull and Bones. But yeah, anyway, this video was a little all over the place because I had a bad day, and I just threw this together as quickly as I could. I haven't made a video in like 2 weeks, but I'm going to get back to making more videos soon. And speaking of people with Oz in their name, I'll be talking about this guy, Will Ospreay, among others, in the very near future. Born on 5/7. 1993. There's that 93 again, and you know how big the 5/7 is. All glory to God, and thank you for watching.